guys, what's up? How are you doing? I was asking this question when I started SailPoint. I didn't know. SailPoint Identity IQ, pretty much you can customize anything, but can you do that in SailPoint? I didn't know. In the last 3 years, what I have learned about customizations in SailPoint, I didn't know. Let's see that. So the main reason why I'm doing this session is so there has been some questions over the internet, especially in LinkedIn, or some personal level questions coming to me that, hey Krishna, you cannot do much development in SailPoint. I don't know. I was like, really? Then what I'm doing in SailPoint, I don't know projects. You think I'm just right? I'm just being as a support and administrative professional in SailPoint. I don't know. So there were some comparisons over identity IQ and I don't know. I've seen in LinkedIn. So they were concluding that it's not feasible to customize in SailPoint. I didn't know. Whereas in identity IQ, you can build extensive coding, but in I didn't know, you will not be able to. It's not feasible. It's like really. So I wanted to, clear the air or the internet, the misconceptions that are going on. So I wanted to give answers through this session. So personally, with my experience and knowledge, I would categorize the development sale in SailPoint, I don't know, to 4 categories. One, no coding. The concept we have is workflows. Second, low coding. We have transforms. Third, coding. We have rules. Fourth, heavy coding. We have APIs and SDKs. Let's look into what it can do, what you can do with these features. So workflows, low coding platform. It's a simple drag and drop solution given by SailPoint. So it has three concepts basically. So if you understand these three concepts, you can build a workflow easily. Triggered. So there are a bunch of out of the box triggers to invoke the workflow. There should be something, right, that should start the workflow. Example, a schedule trigger. So every day or every week or every month, this workflow should be triggered, right? And we have identity changes. Whenever something changes on identity user level, this workflow will be triggered. Access request decision. So whenever an access request is submitted, the approvers will take a decision either by approving or revoking. External triggers. So you can invoke from outside SailPoint, maybe through an API or from some other systems or different kind of business applications. They can trigger SailPoint workflow. That's why the name external trigger form submitted. So SailPoint, I don't know. It's been a while since they introduced custom forms or end user forms. Once a form is submitted by a user, what you want to happen. So a workflow will be triggered for that. Certification, access reviews, also known as access reviews. So certification based triggers also available. And then once this workflow is triggered, there are set of actions should be performed inside SailPoint. So we have good amount of out of the box actions. So access request based actions, certification actions means to launch a campaign, to end a campaign. So get access, get the access of user identity, so you can get data of the identity. Sending an email, so you can send an email to whatever the requirement you have. Managing access, like add access, remove access, you can do this stuff. And operators, so if you want to have some conditions to choose the path for your workflow, right? So you can add some conditions. So like comparison operators, so you can have comparison with the data you are getting with some static data, so to see if it is matching your criteria, so that it should take a path, or else it should go to some other path. A set of actions you would like to execute based on the conditions you have. And if you'd like to have some wait, for example, you made an API call and you would like to get the data, it will take some time, so you want to wait for that, so you can wait. And loop, so you get a lot of data, right, and then you want to loop or iterate over the data. And finally, of course, end. So somewhere the workflow has to end, right? So when you have the end operator, SailPoint engine thinks that, okay, this workflow should be ended here. So that's the workflow we have. So how it looks like in SailPoint, let me show you. So this is a simple workflow, and you see you have triggers, bunch of triggers you have, actions, and then actions. You can make any API call using HTTP request. So if you see HTTP request, just need to select authentication type, give the URL, all the basic stuff you need to make an API call. Or if you take send an email, you do not need to write any code to send an email. You just need to fill out this data. That's it. Of course, no coding platform, right? And operators, you have bunch of them. So it's basically a drag and drop. Just need to write some expressions if you want to control this. When the workflow is triggered, you don't want that to be triggered for every user or every time that gets uh, matching the data, or if there is any changes has happened and the workflow is going to trigger and you want to filter for set of the data, right? So you can apply the filters. This is a simple expression language you have to write, and I wouldn't consider this as a coding, but if you want to consider this will go to low coding platform, I would say, or low coding category. This is not heavy coding, you will be able to understand. And even you do not need to write this filters. You can choose from the workflow, choosing the previous step and next step, it will give the suggestions, and this expression path will be built automatically as well. Okay, so this is how workflows looks like in SailPoint I didn't know. Next, transforms. So what is a transform? You get an incoming data from any source or any business application, and you would like to you know convert the data into desired result. Okay, so we have bunch of transforms, around 40 plus 40 transforms are there. Each transform has a different purpose. So for example, some transforms I listed here: concatenation transform. So as the name indicates, it will join a set of strings. Example, display name. If you are getting first name and last name from your HR system, and if you want to calculate display name, you can use concatenation transform. First value, like an if else. Lookup, if you want to have a lookup table for some data. So static, it's a very good transform. Date operations, you can compare the dates, you can transform one, you can convert one date format to another date format, you can add the dates or subtract the dates, everything you can do using date format. Date transforms. Conditional transforms, if you want to check with some conditions. So how the transform looks like, this is a sample. The transform is written in JSON. Okay, so this is a low coding platform, and we have a lot of operations, around 40 as I mentioned. So these are the operations currently supported by SailPoint. So different kind of operations you have, out of the box transforms. You need to use this type of transform to customize or to build customizations for your requirements. Okay, so SailPoint is working a lot on this, and I have seen a lot of new transform types are added. So in future you can expect a lot of transform types as well here. Static transform, as I mentioned, it's a very big concept inside that, and it's powerful transform, I would say. So not just converting the data. When you go with static transform, you can declare a variable inside the transform definition. You can declare a variable, and that variable also gets the data from a different source, right? And you can write a velocity script, Apache velocity script here in the value field. So the basic conditions or basic logic, if you'd like to build here, you can use it. So it's a powerful transform, I would say. Out of all the transforms we have, around 40, static transform is my favorite because it has a lot of power in it. Okay, maybe SailPoint should rename these transforms from static transform to powerful transform, I would say. So why? It's not just end of adding some velocity language here and having a lot of customizations. So you can write a lot of code here using velocity, but more than that, you can see you can access identity object. Okay, so the so when you are applying the transforms, you are converting the data, transforming the data for a user. So that user object is available as a variable dollar identity. So you have access to the entire user data. So you can get any data, any user data, any attribute, I mean. So just by using this code, dollar identity dot get attribute of email. If you are from SailPoint Identity IQ already, you know what I'm talking about. SailPoint object model where you can write the code. Okay, so you can get user accounts by using this simple code snippet dollar $identity dot get links. If you want to get a specific link object, nothing but account. So in SailPoint, account is the business terminology. Account means user record on any application, business application. Link is the technical terminology. Okay, so you can get a specific account using identity dot dollar identity dot get links by app or ID, app ID or name. So either you can pass the business application ID, you onboarded inside SailPoint, so it will have an ID, and you will have a name for the application as well. So you can use any one of them to get a specific account of the identity. So you can use Velocity language template as I mentioned already. And yeah, you have an entire identity object here. So you can pull out entire identity data, identities, accounts, and you can implement whatever the customizations you need here. So yeah, as I mentioned, this is a powerful transform, and this is my favorite out of all the transforms. Rules. If you are from SailPoint Identity IQ, you are already familiar with the rules concept. Rules, we call it as king of development in Identity IQ. I say like that because if you learn how to write a rule, what is the purpose of it, pretty much you know the development in SailPoint Identity IQ, right? The same set of rules are there in IdentiNow, not that much. In when I started my career in SailPoint Identity IQ, I really counted. There were 170 type of rules were there. I think it's close to 200. Over the period of time, they added new rules. They might have decommissioned some rules, but it's okay. I would say around 200 rules are there. A lot of stuff you can do with the rules. When it comes to IdentiNow, we have two type of rules. I mean, not the type, category like where it gets executed. So we have connector rules and cloud rules. So as the name connector rules, those are executed at connector level itself. So SailPoint IdentiNow, we have an additional component called as virtual appliance, which acts as a secured layer from SailPoint IdentiNow cloud to your on-premise applications. So that acts as a secure layer for the communications. Okay. So at that virtual appliance only this rule gets executed. Whatever the inputs you have into your connector, that data will be used. And if you want to manipulate that data, you can use these rules. Okay. So you cannot connect it to SailPoint database which is in cloud, whereas whatever the input you are getting in that rule, only that data you can use. Apart from that, you cannot extract any data from the cloud for security reasons. Okay, so there are 7 type of rules, and when it comes to cloud, those are executed at cloud level as the name indicates. So these cloud rules can have access to uh, cloud database, identity security cloud database. So these rules are deployed by SailPoint, I don't know, for security constraints. They will validate your rule. They will see if there are any errors, compilation errors. I mean, of course you can cross check that. More than that, they will see are there any security issues with your code. They need to monitor their computing as well. What if you write an infinite loop that never ends? So the cloud computing will be utilized, and SailPoint will get a lot of build from AWS cloud. So there are total 8 type of rules are there. So you might be wondering, is it enough? So in Identity IQ, you have bunch of rules you can do for every kind of activity, but in IdentiNow you don't have those many. Only 15 type of rules are there. Even SailPoint has commented that they don't want rules to be existing at all in IdentiNow. They want to create alternative solutions. You do not need to write extensive coding in the rules. So as I mentioned already, we use bean cell scripting, also known as Java, core Java. Okay, so you do not need to be a developer to work in SailPoint. I don't know. We want to make it as a low code / no code solution. That's what their target is. So they will be replacing these rules maybe with the transforms. They will give you a simple transform so you can achieve the requirement. So there are almost same rules whatever you have in identity IQ are used in identity now. There are some new rules are introduced as well. Okay, so a lot of rules are removed and those are not required. I would say there are alternatives in SailPoint identity now. Next, custom coding, which is heavy coding. What you can do. So APIs and SDKs. So SailPoint has a lot of APIs in IdentityNow. So in IdentityNow, for everything there is an API. Almost everything. If there is something API is not there yet, SailPoint has them in backlogs and they are developing. So you can consume these APIs and pretty much you can write code in any language to consume these APIs, and you can deploy that code in a component we call is IQ service. So this IQ service we use to provision into Microsoft applications like Active Directory or Azure Active Directory, right? So same IQ service we have in Identity IQ as well, same component here also. Okay, so in this IQ service, which is a Windows server, we will deploy this code. You can write in any language your wish. So mostly in the projects what we do is we write that code in either PowerShell or Python, and we will schedule using a Windows task scheduler. Okay, and SDK. So SDKs we have released by SailPoint, so it makes easy for developers to leverage ISC APIs, extensibility, and connectivity. Okay, so a lot of stuff you can do using SDKs. When you go with APIs, it's a raw coding, everything you have to do. If you go with SDK, you do not need to build a lot of coding. You can use the SDKs and methods available there, and you can reduce your coding, and quickly you will be able to achieve your requirement, or you can complete the coding. So what are the SDKs available currently? So the SDKs of SailPoint, I know it's available in Golang, PowerShell, Python, and TypeScript. So you can do any coding and you can deploy that code in IQ service component. If you compare with SailPoint Identity IQ, you can write any code in a generic rule and you can add it to run rule task and you can schedule it. Right? Whereas in IdentityNow, we do not have such kind of task. So instead, you can write the code and you can deploy it in IQ service, let it run there. The difference is in IAQ that customization is inside IAQ, whereas here it's outside. That's the difference. Yeah, you can think about it like pros and cons of it. That's okay. But the question is not about where it is exactly, whether you can do the customizations or not. That's what I'm talking about. Finally, IDE. So if you take Identity IQ, we have a debug page. I have seen a lot of developers using Eclipse, but I don't like to use Eclipse because I'm always fan of Batman. You know the way in the movie they develop the code. They won't write any test cases. They won't say like I have test environment, production environment, nothing. They just write the code like that. I wanted to, and I have written like that as well. No testing, nothing. It should work in the first attempt itself. So I don't like to depend on Eclipse kind of tools where it give you suggestions, auto completions, giving you or giving highlighting the errors. No, I didn't want anything. So debug page, no suggestions, nothing, no highlighting the errors, nothing. So Notepad++, yeah, you can write in Notepad++ as well, no big deal. And you can do the development. When it comes to I don't know, of course I was using Notepad++. We don't have debug page in I don't know. I wish it should have been there, but don't know the reason behind it. We use Postman for our day-to-day activities. So to work in SailPoint, I don't know, we do a lot of activities in a user interface itself. So whatever you do in user interface, also in the back end or background, it is making API calls to run the operations, right? So similarly, we use Postman to do any kind of support activity or administrative activity or development activity. So we use Postman to make API calls. So of course, SailPoint has released their Postman collections. So we have bunch of API calls to do every kind of activity. Uh, so Yeah, pretty much you can do, or you can make any API call to do your uh, sub your day-to-day activities in SailPoint. And finally, VS Code. So so we do have VS Code extension developed for SailPoint. I don't know. Um, Really, it's a game changer. It has a lot of power, and it's really a killing feature, and it really saves a lot of time. So how it looks like. So you can install VS Code, Visual Studio Code, and you can go to extensions and search for SailPoint. Then you get the extension. So this is for SailPoint Identity Security Cloud. So once you install this extension, you can add your tenant, and once you add the tenant, you can see all the data you have in this tenant. It will be displayed. So once you install the extension along with what you can see the objects in your tenant, along with that it will help you to write the transforms. For example, for transform you can use tr, and then it will give you the shortcuts. So you can select in whichever transform you would like to write. So for example, if I choose concat, I selected conditional, so maybe undo it. So tr hyphen, so concatenation transform. So what do you wanna concat? Tr hyphen. So I wanna get first name from HR system and then last name from HR system. So it's a boilerplate. It is going to help you to save your time by giving you the structure of the transform. As I mentioned, you have 40 around transforms are there. It's not that easy to remember the syntax of the transform, right? So yeah, I would suggest you to remember that stuff and have a lot of hands-on, build your expertise. But yeah, when you have the stuff with you, then you can use this kind of boilerplate features, so it will save your time a lot. So along with that, you can develop custom connectors. So we call it as SaaS connectors. Directly, you can deploy in cloud. So for whatever the requirements you have, just like how you develop custom connectors in SailPoint IdentityIQ, similarly, you can develop custom connectors in SailPoint IdentityNow as well. So yep, there is no limitation there. You need to follow the instructions given by SailPoint to develop the custom SaaS connectors. One of the biggest concepts of SailPoint IdentityIQ is lifecycle management. So when I started working in SailPoint, I didn't know. I came to know that there is no LCM workflows in SailPoint. I didn't know. Felt a big relief. Seriously, I felt like it's a big relief. So later, I was asking question. Okay, if you do not have LCM workflows, how the work will be? So basically, in LCM workflows, what you do is, you have four workflows. So for creating accounts and updating accounts, managing passwords, self-registration, and provisioning. Right? So you do have same stuff in IdentNow as well. So using these workflows, what do you do? Most of the times you create a user using self-registration, but that is not a good to use at all. So provisioning, what do you do in provisioning? So whenever a user submit for a request, it will go for approvals. You can change the approvals as well. You can customize that approval scheme. Then later it will go for provisioning. Once the provisioning is completed, you do an audit activity. If you want to add custom audit, you can do that. And then you are going to send an email that, dude, you got your request is completed, your account is created, or these are your credentials, like that. Correct? So uh, similarly, you do the stuff in SailPoint. I don't know as well. We don't have LCM workflows, but in the backend workflows are there. I believe so. So which all these activities are taken care. So whenever you are creating an access model like roles, entitlements, or we have another concept called access profiles. So yeah, we define the approvals there. Pretty much you can do using SailPoint out of the box features. So other stuff in lifecycle management is lifecycle events like joiner, mover, leaver, and rehire. So what these events does? So an account is created for you. automatically, right? For joiner, mostly Active Directory, and emails, an email will be sent containing the credentials. And then you modify the account, you disable account or enable account or delete account. So these are the operations you do in lifecycle events. Same stuff we do, but we will not create a lifecycle event and we will not have a workflow for that. No, nothing. We have out of the box features for that. So under every identity profile, you have a provisioning tab. Here you can create a lifecycle event. So in this lifecycle event, what do you want to have? Either you can enable accounts on these sources, nothing but business applications, or you can disable accounts. So for lever inactive, we can go for disable accounts. Okay, and you can select all the applications here. You can get all the available sources and you can select them. Similarly, you can add an access profile. Access profile is collection of entitlements, so you can add them. So whenever a user is in this lifecycle state, when the user moves to this lifecycle state, user will get all the access profiles here. If user move from this lifecycle state to different lifecycle state, they will lose the access profiles. Okay, so and for access model roles we create, and we have automatic criteria. So automatically user will be, I mean, assignment criteria, so user will get those roles automatically. Or you can define the approvals as well, so the levels of approvals, who are the approvers, like that. So I don't say that in SailPoint I don't know we have everything like an identity, like what we have in Identity IQ product. There are some gaps, I've seen them as well. And SailPoint has released a lot of new features. I am yet to go through them. Maybe those features are the solutions to fill these gaps, or still they are yet to release the solutions for those gaps. We have to see. But you need to remember one thing, that they are building a new ICA product. Don't compare with Identity IQ that it should be same. You can ask for complex business requirements, whether it's possible to implement or not. Whether you want to have a code or not have a code, that doesn't matter, right? End of the day, we need to able to deliver a business service. So let's have a challenge. I am throwing a challenge actually to the world. You give me a scenario. You can give me a scenario from SailPoint Identity IQ or any other IZR tool as well. No problem. Get me a business scenario, which you want to implement, and I will get you the answer how to implement in SailPoint Identity Now. In case if it is really not possible, we can create an idea. SailPoint Ideas portal is there. So if a lot of clients are looking for that feature, they need to upvote there, and then SailPoint will give high priority to those features. Okay, so let SailPoint work on it. Okay, that's the difference. But so to conclude, I would say that in SailPoint Identity Now, you can do heavy customizations as well. But the only difference is, are you deploying those solutions inside SailPoint or outside SailPoint? Like you deploy them in IQ Service, one of the components of SailPoint, I don't know, and let your solution run there. That's the difference. But you cannot do heavy customizations in SailPoint, I don't know. It's not true. I hope you learned something from this session. If you have any queries, concerns, challenges, or comparing the implementation from Identity IQ or any other ICA product, not sure how to implement in SailPoint, I don't know, you can create a post in SailPoint Ambassador Forum, or you know where to find me. You can shoot me that query. I will be able to get you some answer. Thanks for joining this session. See you in some other session. Take care. Bye bye.